Well, I've been thinking the last few days about how aspects of my childhood have... But if you're one of those people who are living in lockdown in a multi-generational family, or you're living by yourself and you're missing all of that contact, then there is some pressure that we are having to deal with, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Now, Jesus never said, he never said ever, that we have to like people. He never even suggested that it would be a good thing to do. There's aspects of lockdown which make life really difficult. We're having to get on with members of the family that we're just not used to spending this amount of time with. Now, I remember from my childhood, very restricted movement. We lived on this little island, and once a week, and I am not kidding, once a week we went to the supermarket for the weekly shop. It was 9 miles away, and we never went anywhere else by car unless it was really important. I once went to my dinghy and forgot the sails. It was 2.5 miles away. And when we opened the boot, when we got there and realised I'd forgotten the sails, well, I had to pay for the petrol out of my pocket money because we didn't make wasted journeys. It's a bit like now, really. But it's nothing like the difficulties that we can face. We might be missing our grandchildren. We might have grandchildren imminently arriving and we're worried about not being able to see them. We might be living with grandparents and enjoying and finding difficult at the same time all of that contact. Well, Jesus did say something that relates to this. He said that we should bear one another's burdens. That means loving one another. That means finding ways in amongst all of the pressures that we're facing of taking from one another some difficulty that they are facing. Now, the government, having recently announced that we've got at least another 3 weeks to go, have left us with this sort of situation in which I'm thinking to myself, oh, I don't know if I can bear one another's burdens for another 3 weeks. And then there's going to be whatever the kind of temporary normal is. And I have been really inspired by thinking back to a book I read in my childhood. Living on that little island, sailing was kind of everything. Frankly, it felt like the only possibility for escape sometimes. But the book that I read as a child so many times was We Didn't Mean to Go to Sea by Arthur Ransome, who, I am proud to say, is an extremely distant relation of mine. In We Didn't Mean to Go to Sea, they accidentally slipped their mooring on the River Orwell and the boat drifted down from Pinmill past Shotley and out into the North Sea. And they were absolutely terrified, but responded, well, John and Susan, Roger and Titty, in really resilient ways. They decided that because of the wind and the tides, the only thing they could do was to run with the wind, which meant going towards Holland. And in the middle of the night, when it was raining, John was holding the tiller. And he said to himself, I can't do this anymore. I just can't take responsibility for the 3 siblings that I've got in the boat and for navigating and all the rest of it. It was too much. And there he was at about 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, like the worst time. Rain pouring down, waves building, and all of his anxieties. And then he remembered something that his dad had said to him. His dad worked on Navy destroyers. And he said this: at the beginning of a long watch in the middle of the night, I never say to myself, I've got 4 hours to do. He says, I only have 5 minutes to do, and I can do 5 minutes. And then he counted down the minutes, and when 5 minutes were up, he said, I only have to do 5 minutes more, and I can do 5 minutes more. And then he counted down the 5 minutes and said to himself, I only have to do 5 minutes more, and I can do 5 minutes more. And after many, many lots of 5 minutes, the sky began to lighten, and the wind began to ease, and the rain drifted away. We can't do the whole of this by ourselves, and we can't do it all. But we can do one more day, one more afternoon, one more hour, 5 minutes more. And if we share with one another the things that we are finding difficult and allow others to take some small part of that burden, then we share together our strengths and our weaknesses.